nightmare just became a reality. The one thing that Big U was praying didn't come to fruition just came to fruition. His last hope to beat this murder conspiracy and RICO charge is over with and done. Big U was never seeing daylight again. And the people responsible for him never seeing daylight again are people he trusted. Big U has been in a state of panic after finding out what we all just found out. And I know he was in a state of panic because only somebody who is desperate would allow his lawyer to play with him how his lawyer's been playing with him. Big U's lawyers, from my perspective, has been filing a bunch of unnecessary things, just collecting up a check. Things that we know ain't going nowhere. Things like this, like Big U filing a motion in Los Angeles federal court demanding that prosecutors turn over the names and files of everyone who is helping the government build his RICO case against him. Big U's lawyer says he can't defend himself properly without knowing who's talking and what they actually says. Big U is currently fighting intimidation charges, extortion charges. You think the judge is about to...
Yeah, as Flock is about to say, witnesses are generally protected, so for the court system to bring forth the names of everyone that's a witness against you in your case is highly unlikely.
Grant you guys the names to the known and unknown informants as Big U is asking for? He's not just asking for the cooperating witnesses who are going to take the stand against him. He's asking for the unknown informants who said anything about him during this investigation who are still currently on the streets working as informants. Big U's new court filing goes straight at the cooperation pipeline. He wants the court to force prosecutors to reveal both the known and unknown cooperating witnesses.
Yeah, another thing too with Big U, just judging from his physical appearance in the clip that they just played just now, I'm not sure if he's actually been to prison before. He looks like he's under pressure or stress regarding whatever topic was being discussed. Certain individuals, you can say they've never been to prison, they've never experienced such. So when they're in those situations, as he looks in that picture or video clip, you can see he's under pressure. He's not used to dealing with, or he hasn't really dealt with what he's dealing with now.
Along with all their reports and communications. Big U has a right to face his accusers. He's going to face the witnesses because they got to come to court and testify. So of course he's going to find out at some point. But he wants the name of the unknown cooperants who gave information during a RICO investigation. People who got pulled in and was given leniency to talk a little bit. He won them. People who are still on the streets working. That's not going to happen, bro. Big U is literally known for extortion, known for intimidation, muscling, pulling up and get... It's not happening. It's just another example of his lawyers racking up these lawyer fees by giving him false hope. But the reason why Big U even...
Another thing too is, even if Big U wasn't known for doing bad things in the streets, extortion, etc., as Flocko just said, still the information for the witnesses, the star witnesses, still wouldn't be provided or furnished to him or the court. People that are testifying, most likely all the time, they're always protected. Most of the time they're protected. So for you to ask for their details, just know you're not going to get them.
Filed that motion because Big U found out around the same time we found out that people very close to him was working against him the entire time. When Big U became aware that his phones were wiretapped and the feds were listening to his conversation, he came up with a strategy where him and his homies could still communicate. They would call each other, speak in code, and instruct each other to link up at a particular location. That location was the Under the Hood Muscle Car Repair Shop, which was Bear Claw Shop. They will all link up at Bear Claw Shop. Brick Baby will link up there. Big U will link up there. Bear Claw, or anybody they wanted to have a conversation with about this, potential RICO or the murder case or anything they wanted to talk about streetwise, they will link up at that shop to talk about it, which is why the feds became really interested in that shop, almost obsessed with that shop. They set up pole cameras near the shop, and they began to work with people around Big U to get them to turn so they could have access to the shop and the conversations that took place in that shop. The feds became aggressive with Big U after Big U allegedly murdered Rayshawn Williams. After Big U committed the murder in Vegas, that's when the feds became aggressive with Big U. So whenever Bear Claw and Big U wanted to speak about the murder case or details surrounding Rayshawn Williams' death or potential witnesses, they will meet up at Bear Claw's shop. Now, whatever system Bear Claw and Big U came up with to where they can identify who to trust and the specific people that are allowed to be present when they discuss this murder case, that system worked because the feds tried everything in their power to get somebody to be in that room when the conversation and the meetings happen with a wiretap on them, but they couldn't. They tried their hardest. What the feds began to do is they began to work with the Los Angeles Metropolitan Task Force on Violent Gangs. Now, in conjunction with this particular task force, they began to target and get people around Big U to flip. Now, the Los Angeles Metropolitan Task Force on Violent Gangs can be described as a collaborative law enforcement initiative dedicated to combating gang-related violence, organized crime, and criminal activity within the greater Los Angeles metropolitan area, part of the FBI's Safe Streets Gang Task Force initiative. It was established in response to the proliferation of street gangs and the associated violence and criminality. LATMG brings together federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies to target and dismantle violent gangs operating in the region. In this document, the feds revealed that several confidential sources have been developed by the LA Metro Task Force for Violent Gangs. The task force was able to target people around Big U, get them to flip, because they had very intimate knowledge of what these people needed in their current cases and was able to offer deals that was sweet enough to get them to turn on Big U. Now, the reason why this was revealed, because this paperwork is the feds coming to a judge and saying, hey, we need to renew the continuance wiretaps. And the reason why we need to renew it is even though we have all these confidential sources, we still have not been able to infiltrate the targeted location where Bear Claw, Big U, and others is meeting at to discuss this. And they're speaking candidly and freely because they feel like it's not wiretapped. So we need to access this. They will say specifically, although each confidential informant has been able to provide information in varying degrees regarding the targeted communicators in the rolling 60s, the information by itself is insufficient to achieve the goals and the objectives of this investigation for the following reasons. So then they proceeded to explain how they not only got people around Big U to flip and give information, but they began to explain and break down all the steps that the people around Big U took to throw Big U under the bus. People around Big U were flipping. They were bringing undercover FBI employees to Bear Claw shop. They were setting up meetings with Big U and undercover FBI employees to get them to meet. Some of these undercover employees were posing as street dudes to build a relationship and a rapport with Big U. The goal was to build a rapport so strong that you are trusted by Big U and you are involved or allowed to come to those meetings where they're discussing the various things that's going on with the feds in their particular cases. One of the first people who tried to introduce a confidential undercover FBI agent to Big U and Bear Claw is a man they labeled as CHS-1. Now, CHS-1 has been communicating with the feds and working against Big U since July of 2021. On December 6, 2022, the LA Metro Task Force attempted to have CHS-1 introduce two undercover law enforcement agents to Big U and Robinson, which I believe is Sylvester Robinson. The goal of the introduction was to assess whether Big U will be amenable to future interactions with the undercovers. However, the introduction was not possible because of reported multiple shots fired at the venue where the task force planned the introduction. The venue got shot up before the undercovers could get to the venue to even meet Big U, regular LA stuff. But apparently the CHS was bringing these undercovers to meet Big U, not as, these are street dudes who want to work for Big U or be henchmen. No, these were two dudes they were presenting as legitimate business dudes that Big U could extort. So the CHS and Big U kind of had it all planned out where he had some homies who was doing dispensary work or who, had businesses in LA that Big U could meet, and Big U was going to try to extort these dudes. That was going to be the play. These dudes were going to present themselves as prey to Big U. Big U was going to extort them, and the feds will have all the evidence of Big U extorting them. But apparently those plans got foiled before it started. The task force discontinued the operation in progress due to safety considerations of the undercovers. However, a couple months later, on March 31st, 2023, an FBI undercover employee established contact with Bear Claw and Chuck at the target location, which is obviously Bear Claw's shop. During the operation, which was audio and video recorded, Chuck gave the FBI undercover employee a tour of Bear Claw's shop, provided the suite number for the target location, and provided information about the business name and its activities. However, the interaction between Chuck, Bear Claw, and the FBI undercover employee was limited to a one-time encounter. However, they will say due to whatever took place during the one-time interaction, that they believe that future interactions between the FBI undercover employee and the targeted communicators at the target location would jeopardize the undercover, employee's safety, right? So the FBI undercover agent that was supposed to try to get access to the particular target location, which is Bear Claw shop, this needs to be reiterated here. The feds don't just want access to the shop. They wanted somebody to be present for the meetings with the targeted communicators. So Big U would have meetings with specific people who the feds identified. These are the target of our investigation. These are the people involved in Big U RICO conspiracies. The targeted communicators, the subjects of this investigation, are listed as Eugene Hanley, which is Big U. They had Sylvester Robinson, which is Vay, aka V. They had Mark Martin, which is Bear Claw. Zaire Mitchell, which is Brick Baby. Darrell Scott. Devon Douglas, aka Debo. Lamarck Saunders, aka Tiny Draws, and other yet unknown, collectively the targeted communicators. Now, this is very important, and you have to know this. This document is being written in real time, which is why when you read this document, they're talking about they are having to prove these charges. They're having to prove certain things. So this is before the indictment even came. So this document that got these names listed, when you go to the indictment, a lot of these names you see have been completely removed from the indictment, and they're now listed as CWs. Feds were very specific with their word, and they said every one of the targeted communicators have violated the RICO Act. They have violated the RICO Act, and there's evidence they have done so. So the feds don't just list you as somebody who has violated the RICO Acts, right? One of the people who is helping Big U, conduct this criminal enterprise, and they'll say, Now, maybe the feds are still investigating some of these guys. Maybe that's why they haven't been picked up yet. But if you were listed as a targeted communicator, and the feds is listing you as somebody who have violated the RICO Act, but yet you weren't picked up, and there's no mention of you being indicted, I'm looking at you a little bit suspicious. All right, now I'm not a street dude. I can't tell who's right, who's not, but I'm looking at you suspicious. Okay? Maybe the feds are still investigating some of these dudes. Maybe an indictment is coming, so maybe it's too early to call these dudes rats, but that's suspicious to me. I'm sorry. Okay? Let me tell you how effed up the feds are, how messed up they are, okay? The feds said, listen, man, it's too dangerous to have our undercover agents try to get close to Big U. It's too dangerous, man, right? Because they're gonna have to prove themselves. They're gonna have to commit crimes. That's too dangerous. So they began to recruit other known informants around Big U to try to infiltrate those meetings. So they try to get one of their rats to do it, right? CHS2. Now, CHS2 has been working with the feds since about 2020. They try to get them to be one of the people who try to infiltrate the target location, Bear Claw shop, and be present for one of those meetings with the targeted communicators. And they said, hell nah. What? You trying to get me killed? So CHS2 has provided information on Big U and other associates of Big U. CHS2 was limited to providing information he/she received from an acquaintance of Henley. CHS2 does not have the ability to consensually record conversations with Big U, nor the ability with targeted communicators at the target location. While CHS2 does have the ability to consensually record conversation with one of Big U's associates, CHS2 fears for his/her safety if he/she were to develop a closer relationship with him. CHS2 has been provided information to the FBI since October of 2020. CHS2 has provided information on Big U's involvement in human trafficking activities. However, right, the LA Task Force has not yet been able to corroborate the information. CHS2 does not live in Los Angeles and does not have immediate access to Big U. Now, here's what really gets me. Now, CHS2 is my type of guy or my type of gal because apparently like the benefit for them cooperating since 2020 has been strictly monetary. So CHS2 has received monetary compensation in return for his/her information and assistance on other FBI investigations. So this person is investigating to get paid. Like they are a hired rat. The hesitation we see from CHS2 was recurring, right, among the other rats. See, the rats felt comfortable hearing something and coming back and snitching or doing business with Big U and then telling about the business they do with Big U, but they didn't feel comfortable walking into the lion's den, which is bear claw shop, wired up. They didn't feel comfortable doing that, bruh. Because even the rats who were close to Big U felt like, man, listen, man, I'm close to Big U, but in order for me to be present at that targeted location, I gotta be within the know-how, or I gotta be one of his henchmen, right? For me to win over his trust,
So obviously they were fearful of Big U because of the reputation that he had built. But another thing I don't really understand is why is he physically holding meetings where he's physically there or present, whereas he could have a video call with all his members, the safe members, have it done electronically instead of going there. Maybe use a safe app or a safe cloud, something like that, instead of physically going and discussing elements of their case. Another thing too is why is he even discussing the case with the other members, whereas his case should actually be discussed with his lawyers, because the lawyers are the only people that can actually help him, the lawyers and the court jurisdiction. So for him to be discussing his case with the fellow members, to me also doesn't make sense.
gotta do some dirt for the man. And then, I've never been to this targeted location. I've never been in those meetings. I don't know if everybody is pat down for wires beforehand. I go to the meeting, I get pat down. There's wires down. Guess what? I'm dead. CHS2 couldn't do it, so they try to get one of their most trusted rats, CHS3, to do it. Now, apparently, CHS3 was able to make multiple controlled narcotics purchases from the Rolling 60s, and he has access to Rolling 60s, limited access to the Rolling.
That's another thing too. Some people are just unable to micromanage. That leads to the downfall of the operation or empire. If you're able to micromanage, you're less visible to the public, less known, you're on a lower profile, you're safer in that way. Now, when you want to physically be involved in every aspect of whatever business you're running, that's when you eventually get caught in whatever you're doing.
60s. But they thought about it, man, and they say, this dude, CHS3, has been ratting so well since 2019. He's been doing such an up and standing job that multiple gang members are starting to get suspicious because whenever he come around, somebody get arrested. So they said, listen, man, CHS3 cannot help us with this investigation because CHS3 provided extensive assistance for another federal investigation since June 2019. And his/her assistance is widely suspected amongst multiple gangs in the Los Angeles area. CHS3 is still able to testify about the information he/she has already provided on the Rolling 60s. The scariest part about all of this, the CHS, the confidential human sources, that list is longer than a grocery list. And they all still on the streets. They all still on the streets in LA getting information. If you're an LA gang member, bro, don't call my phone, bro. Don't call my phone. I don't even want to say the obvious here. If you from certain neighborhoods, if you from certain gang affiliations, man, do not call my phone, Because I get to twitching and thinking, man, you trying to, telling me or something. And I don't even commit crimes, bro. Bro, what? If I get a call from a certain neighborhood, I get to twitching, bro. Hold on, bro. Hold on. I read that Big U document now, bro. There's at least 25 to 30 CHSs still on the streets cooperating with the fans. This is crazy. Oh, and by the way, CHS3 also received monetary compensation, man. CHS3 is doing this for the love of the game, bro. Listen, they doing this to feed their family, man. This is, Atlanta dudes is writing to get off charges, man. LA niggas writing to feed their family, man. This is outrageous. We gotta talk about that for a second, bro. Atlanta niggas is writing to get off life sentences, bro. LA niggas is writing to feed their families, man. That's scary, yo. One dude started cooperating after a public lewdness charge. That's like a misdemeanor. But public lewdness is like what? 2 weeks in county jail? He turned fed off a public lewdness charge, man. Nah, yo, fed, ain't nobody turning fed off a public lewdness charge, bro. Homie turned fed to feed his family, bro. It's the compensation that got him hooked. Nah, this is cold, man. Y'all gotta do better, man. CHS4 is the same thing. He's been cooperating since January 2021. Allegedly, that's when the murder with Rayshawn Williams took place. So he's been cooperating since then. All right, he's been purchasing methamphetamine and firearms from several Rolling 60 gang members, and then been cooperating against them. So like, he will purchase the firearms from them and the drugs from them, and then tell the feds, yeah, like he sold me that. All bad, bro. All bad, man. Now, he is the same thing. He said, hey, man, I don't got access to Bear Claws, like meetings with Big U. I'm not putting myself in that situation, bro. Listen, I can let you guys know the information, bro, a little bit more discreetly, but I ain't wearing no wires, man. So not only are these dudes rats, but these dudes are scared rats. They are cowardly rats, man. We don't got no real rat, bro, who is willing to put themselves in a line of fire for the police, man. CHS4 apparently told them that realistically, they can't integrate themselves well enough with the targeted communicators, which is Big U, Bear Claw, Brick Baby, Sylvester. I think they had Tiny Jaws. So he couldn't, like realistically integrate himself well with that particular clique. Because the Rolling 60s is big. There's various cliques. That particular clique, like, they couldn't do what the feds wanted them to do, all right? Now, apparently CHS4 has criminal history that includes arrest for burglary and firearms violation. Now, CHS4 has also received monetary compensation and probation benefits in return for this information and assistance. Now, they know that CHS4 has also provided information to the LAPD. Same thing with CHS5. They apparently, didn't really have enough access to try to work their way into Big U's inner circle. However, they had occasional access to a guy called Tyon T. Jones. T. Jones, who's apparently a Rolling 60 gang member involved in firearm distribution. CHS5 has been able to purchase Glock machine gun switches from T. Jones. Yeah, so, like he was able to cooperate against T. Jones and been given information against Rolling 60 members for a while now, but he was unable to infiltrate, which is why they had to renew, like the wiretaps and had to take certain efforts in terms of putting up like the pole cameras and things of that sort to actually watch the targeted location because none of their, confidential informants could infiltrate. We got to start having a conversation about LA. Yeah, we got Atlanta who was doing what Atlanta did, but these LA dudes, they are literal paid and hired rats. Like they're professional rats. Like they are rats who are living off of being compensated for being a rat. Like they're receiving paychecks for being rats. Y'all let me know in the comment section, man. What do you guys think about this, man? What's worse to you, man? Is the LA rats or Atlanta rats worse, man? Let me know, bro. All right, and I'm gonna say the controversial part out loud. All right, I'm gonna say it, man. All right. This ain't blood business now, are we? All right. I'm sure there are some bloods out there who is telling. I'm sure, but the stuff I'm seeing in this paperwork, this ain't Damu business, man. All right, but y'all let me know in the comment section what y'all think, all right? And if you're still watching my videos and you want to watch another good video, click on this video right here to find out how Jay-Z just ruined LaRussell's life. I'm going to see you guys.